wanted to take you with me in my travel journey and my past 2 years of travel experiences. So let's dive in. When I was 16, I finished high school and I decided I wanted to become a midwife. And to get in that study in the Netherlands is pretty hard. So I tried my best and unfortunately I didn't get in. My whole world collapsed and I was like, what do I do now? I had no other plans and it was literally my life goal to become a midwife. So I decided to take a gap year and I wanted to, try and get better for next year to get in midwifery again. So I decided to go on a volunteer program with projects abroad and I went to Tanzania on my own for the first time outside of my own country, the Netherlands. I was terrified. I was 16 years old and I booked a program for 8 weeks volunteering in Tanzania in a hospital at the midwifery department. In September 2022, I got on a plane to Kilimanjaro airport and I arrived in Arusha. There I stayed with a host family and there were a few other volunteers in that house and I felt so warm and welcomed by them and I was so happy I took this step. And the 8 weeks of volunteering didn't really go as planned. I stopped volunteering at the hospital after like a week or so. The hospital was dirty, I couldn't do anything because I had no degree or diploma, so I was just shadowing the nurses and the midwives, and I think it could be a good experience if you don't mind just watching, but I really wanted to act, I wanted to do something. My volunteer friend, she worked at a Maasai school. She said, oh my god Laura, you would love it there. So I came with her to the school. It was a pre-primary school, so the kids were 3 to 6 years old, and I got my own class with a Swahili teacher, so a teacher that could speak their language, and I spoke English to them. I had the upper class, so the kids were 5 and 6 years old, and I taught them English, maths, and mostly we just played outside, and we played soccer, frisbee, those kind of things, and I had the most amazing time there. So I went there every morning together with my other volunteer friends, and we just had a blast, and the kids are so grateful and thankful and happy, and it's insane. And after the 8 weeks, I planned with another volunteer to go and do the Kilimanjaro hike. I had no idea about this hike before I went to Tanzania, and once we were there we heard everyone talk about it and we were like, okay, we can do this, we got this. So we booked it, and maybe 4 weeks before we booked it, and then we had to mentally prepare and maybe a little bit physically. So we went to the gym every now and then and did some running, some cardio, and we hired all our stuff together because we didn't have any hiking gear with us. So we got hiking pants, warm jackets, duffel bag, everything. And the day the hike started, we got at the base camp, and me and my friend, and we were put in a group with two other hikers. They were also volunteering in Moshi, that's a little village close to Kilimanjaro. And it was actually so funny because we got along so well, the four of us. It was me and three other guys, and I was the youngest. By that time I turned 17, and wow, this experience was the most amazing experience of my life. I cannot describe it. I will show you some pictures, and it's breathtaking, every view you get at the sunrise, the sunset. You don't have internet, you don't have your phone for the whole 7 days. The route was 7 days. We did the Machame route, was it? We did it in 6 days, so we were a very fast team. And yeah, you just hike every day, and then you come at your base camp, you get lunch, they make you warm lunch. There are a lot of porters going with you. The porters, they carry your bag for you, and they carry tents, food, everything. So in the end, you only have to wear your day pack, and they just bring all the other stuff upstairs, up the mountain. So every lunch we got a warm lunch, and then we did another hike to another camp, and then we had dinner, and then we would play cards all night. Sometimes we had a fire, and it was just so cozy and such a nice atmosphere. So yeah, every time I think about it, I get like a wholesome feeling. It was so great, and to meet so many new people, and yeah, it's such an intense thing to do together, and you really grow very close to each other. And then the last night, the sixth night, was the night we went up to the summit. So at that night, you wake up at midnight, and then you get a bit of porridge, and then it's a 7 hour hike to the top. And it was freezing. It's so cold up there. The mountain is, I believe, 5,900 meters. So at that point, I think we already were at 4,000, and it was freezing. That night was a snowstorm, and I was wearing like 5 or 6 layers of pants and jackets and everything. And yeah, that was the night we had to make it to the top. So it was rough, it was heavy, it was cold, but then we arrived at the summit. It's sunrise, and wow, I will show you. It was so fucking worth it. It was so amazing. So then we were at the summit, and we couldn't stay there much longer than 10 to 20 minutes because it's so cold up there. And then the same day we hiked all the way down back to Moshi, so the little village where the mountain lays. So basically in one day we went up and all the way back down again. So we were so tired, and luckily we got a hotel rest there, and yeah, that was our Kilimanjaro experience. And then after that, I flew to Zanzibar. That's the island of Tanzania, and it's a magical, beautiful white beach island with, yeah, super chilled locals. And planned to go alone there, but I made a friend on Kilimanjaro. He was in my hiking group, and he was also planning to go to Zanzibar, so we went together. So there we spent a week together, and then it was already time for me to go back home. And I didn't want to go back home. I sat in the plane and I cried. I didn't want to go. I love this country so much. And then I got back home, and of course my mom and my family were very happy to see me, but I don't know, I think I got like the post-travel depression because I wasn't feeling it. I wanted to go back. It was cold in the Netherlands. It was winter. I missed everything I had there. So I I told myself I have to work. I have to do this again. I want to see more of this. But still, I wanted to become a midwife, so I also did a lot of studying for the test again for midwifery. But in February or March 2023, I took my mom with me and we went back to Zanzibar because I wanted to show her so badly where I've been and what an amazing time I've had there. So we went for 10 days on a little holiday to Zanzibar, and it was so amazing that I could show her everything that I saw, and I was like her personal tour guide. And yeah, it was the best time. And then the 10 days, of course, they passed by so quickly. So we went back, and it became like spring in the Netherlands, so it was a bit more doable. I got my job, I worked in a bakery and as a babysitter. So yeah, I was busy again. I got it. And then I was studying for the test. I was getting my driving license by that time. So I was busy. It was all right, but still I had this feeling that I wanted to travel some more. So I was looking, where should my next trip go? So then I booked a trip to Guatemala. It's super random and I don't even really remember why Guatemala, but I think it was just cheap and beautiful nature and I love hikes, so they had a lot of volcano hikes there. So in, I believe it was May 2023, I got on a plane again to Guatemala all by myself, and there the first week I arrived in Antigua. There I did a Spanish course because I have no Spanish, literally still zero Spanish. So I did that. There I stayed in a host family again with some other Spanish students. So it was a nice start for me to get to know the country a little bit better and the people and to make some friends. And after that week I did the Acatenango hike. That's an active volcano and it's an overnight hike as well. Yeah, again, a wonderful experience. I really enjoyed it. And then I went to El Paredon. That's a little surfer village in Guatemala. So there I took my first surf lesson, which was very cool, but the ocean, it's the Pacific Ocean, was very, very rough. And yeah, I just chilled there a lot. I had a very nice hostel. I made some friends there, and after a while I was like, I would like to stay here a bit longer. So I came across this hostel and they were looking for volunteers. So I was like, okay, if I can volunteer here, then I don't have to pay for my food and accommodation, so I could stay a bit longer. So there I volunteered, but it didn't last that long, maybe 3 or 4 days. And I don't know, it didn't really work well with me and the boss together. So he told me like, yeah, if you want to continue traveling, you might as well go. And yeah, I think it's better for you to just move on. And actually, I think he was right. So I did move on. I went back for 1 day to Antigua and I did another volcano hike. This was Pacaya hike. This was a smaller volcano, but still very nice. And then I went to Lake Atitlan. That's a big lake in Guatemala, and there are 12 little villages around it. And there I met up with some friends I made earlier, and we hired an Airbnb, and we just, yeah, had an amazing time. Some parties, we went paragliding and just exploring there, the lake, paddleboarding, everything. And then I went to Simuk Shempe or Lankin, and this is an amazing nature park. And wow, it was so beautiful there. I don't think I've ever seen something that beautiful before. All the water pools, and there were a lot of activities we could do. And I met the most amazing people there. They were all so friendly, and yeah, we just had a nice group of friends there. And then after I think 3 or 4 days there, I went all the way back to Guatemala City. And there I took the plane to Mexico because in Lake Atitlan I made a very good friend and she said, come to Mexico with me. And I was like, okay, but I already had a return flight from Guatemala back to the Netherlands. So I went to Mexico for only 4 days. We just stayed in Mexico City and yeah, we just did some exploring in the city, ate a lot of good nachos and tacos, and other than that I didn't really see much of Mexico, so I definitely want to go back there. But it was a blast to be there with her and yeah, just a bit of extra experience. So after the 4 days I flew back to Guatemala and from Guatemala back to Amsterdam. Yeah, there I was again, back home, and this time I had to finish my driving license test, and luckily I passed, so I was very happy with that. But unfortunately, I again did not get through the midwifery selection, and at this point I was completely lost again. I was like, what do I have to study now? I was looking at different studies like physics, chemistry, dietitian. I was all over the place, and then I was like, why do I even want to study if nothing really feels right? Am I just gonna study to study? and it just didn't feel right to me. So then I decided that I would just take another gap year and travel some more, because that's really what makes me happy, and I wasn't really happy in the Netherlands. So that summer I went on a Interrail Europe trip with a friend for 1 month, and because it's funny, I never saw Europe. I just went to Africa, Central America, but I didn't see Europe before. So we went to Paris, a lot of cities in Italy. We went to Lake Bled and Ljubljana in Slovenia. Went to Prague, Vienna, all the big cities, and we had an amazing time together. And it was actually quite nice to travel with someone instead of all by myself this time. So that was a shorter trip for me, 1 month. And when I came back, I had like 1 week at home, and then my big adventure started to travel Southeast Asia. Yes, Southeast Asia. So I started in Sri Lanka, and this is also an interesting story. I traveled together with my babysit family. I had like I was a nanny for them, a babysitter at home in the Netherlands, and I told them, guys, I'm leaving again, and this time for good, or like for a longer period, so I cannot come back and babysit again. And they actually also wanted to travel, and when I said Sri Lanka, they looked at me as if I don't know. They said, "Oh my God, we were thinking about Sri Lanka as well." And then yeah, very special. I don't know how it happened, but the four of us went to Sri Lanka together. So on that time, I was still kind of babysitting the kids, but we also just had an amazing holiday together for 3 weeks. So it was a lot more luxury than normally my hostel backpacking life. And after 3 weeks together, they went back home, and I continued my solo travel in Sri Lanka for 1 more week. Then I went from Colombo, that's the capital, to Nuwara Elia, and from there to Ella, which is a very cute little village with a lot of nice shops, coffee shops, restaurants, and beautiful mountains. We did a sunrise hike there. And yeah, it was an amazing experience. And from Sri Lanka, I flew to Thailand, and in Thailand, I stayed a little bit longer than I expected. I initially didn't even plan to go to Thailand. My plan was Sri Lanka, Bali, and then Australia. And in Thailand, I just discovered the whole country, I guess. I went from south to north to south to back and forth. I did a yoga retreat in Koh Phangan, and I went to the Light Festival in Chiang Mai, and I met so many nice people. And every place I visited with someone. I never traveled alone anymore, so it felt very easy for me to travel through Thailand because I met so many nice people and there is so much to do. So then I was in Chiang Mai, and I went up to Pai, which is like a hippie village, and I felt so embraced there and at home, and I became a little bit of a yogi. And then I went back all the way to Koh Phangan to do a yoga teacher training. So for 3 weeks I stayed at Wonderland Healing Center, and I did my first yoga teacher training. And it was such a beautiful journey to do that together with like 15 other people. To yeah, we meditated a lot, we did yoga lessons to each other, we got yoga lessons, we learned a lot about ourselves as well. And yeah, it was a real healing journey as well. But in the end, we all got our certificates, so now I'm a yoga teacher as well. And after that, I flew together with a friend I made at the yoga teacher training. We flew to Vietnam, to Hanoi, and there another adventure began because we had no idea about Vietnam and about the climate, what to do there. We just knew it was next to Thailand, so we were like, easy, let's go. So in Vietnam, we arrived and it was so cold in Hanoi, or for our feeling it was cold. We came from Thailand, it was 32 degrees, I guess, and then in Hanoi it was maybe 15 degrees, so we had to buy jackets and pants and everything, and we had to, yeah, get to know the country a little bit better because we had no idea what to expect. So in Hanoi we just, yeah, we chilled a lot. We drank a lot of egg coffee, which is like the specialty in Hanoi. It's so delicious. Um, and we did a lot of tours in northern Vietnam. Also did the Ha Giang Loop. That's like a motorbike tour, and you go in 3 or 4 days. You drive all through beautiful mountain areas with a motor, and yeah, that was also an amazing experience. And then from there, we drove by the sleeper buses all the way down to Mui Ne, which is a beach area in Vietnam. There we chilled, we celebrated Christmas there, which was very weird to celebrate Christmas in, yeah, in such a warm area, because down south it was warm. And yeah, at the beach we just chilled, and then I no, we together flew to Bali, I think, if I remember it well. Yeah, we flew to Bali, and we went straight to Ubud, and there I did another yoga retreat, and then I went to Lombok, and my friend went to Australia, and I fell in love with Lombok. This island is so amazing and way less crowded and busy than Bali. So for me, it was a better option. And then I stayed for approximately a month in Lombok, and I did some surfing. I just did some self development. I started with social media, and yeah, I was just living there basically. And then from Lombok, there I met up with a friend who I already met in Thailand and Vietnam. And from there we flew together to Kenya. And in Kenya we wanted to go to a volunteer community forest to plant trees, and yeah, it sounded so wholesome, and because I love Tanzania so much I figured I would love Kenya as well, and I wanted to show my friend that, so we went together. But unfortunately, I got sick in Lombok already, and when I arrived in Kenya, I felt so bad that I had to go to the hospital. And yeah, unfortunately, after 2 days in Kenya, I had to fly back home because my stomach was so upset, and I couldn't talk, I couldn't walk. I really, really needed to get some medication and to get back home. So that was a big, big bummer for me. And then when I came back home, I first had to recover for 1 month in the hospital and at home. And then I worked 2 more months in the Netherlands, again at the babysit family and again at the bakery. So I'm very grateful for the fact that I could immediately get back to work. And then now we're here. I am in Thailand again, in Koh Phangan, together with my friend who went to Kenya with me. And we've been here for about 2 weeks now, and we just live here, and we love this island so much. It's such a zen yogi place with everything you need, amazing restaurants, cafes, the beach, activities all day long. So that was my travel story. It was basically for me the best that I didn't get in midwifery the first and the second time, and maybe I try it again in 2, 3, 4, or 10 years. I don't know, but for now this feels like the right thing for me. And yeah, I'm very happy and grateful for the fact that I can be here and just explore the world a little bit more and explore myself. And I still have my visa for Australia, my working holiday visa, because that was initially my plan 1 year ago. So maybe I'll go to Australia, but for now, I think we'll stay here. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope I see you in the next one. Bye bye.